Hello everyone. Holiday is coming up. It's the end of year. It's time to check your insurance and making sure that your life is adequately covered. Today's topic is car insurance. We want to talk about car insurance, and there are three topics. First, we want to talk about what's the general terms, what will be covered, what will not be covered if you got into a car accident. And the second, we want to talk about what is UIM coverage, and why is that important? Do I really need one? And then the third part, we want to talk about umbrella insurance and what is umbrella insurance and under what kind of circumstances I should have an umbrella insurance. Let's talk about general terms about car insurance. Once I buy the car insurance, I never look at it again. I don't even remember when this last time.
Most people don't, and it can get you into a little bit of trouble if you're in a car accident. So first off, I'm going to use kind of some informal terms, and then I'm going to talk about more formal terms as well. So for starters, most people have what's called basic coverage. So what that means is you have coverage that will cover the other person if you were to be in a car accident. So in the state of Texas, you're required to have a minimum of a $30,000, $60,000 policy. So it's the absolute basic that you can get. And what that means is it's a policy that will cover the other driver. It's a third-party insurance. So it'll cover the other driver if you're in a car accident and you're at fault, and it will cover up to $25,000 for the collision itself, so for their vehicle. It will also cover $30,000 per individual, $60,000 per accident for any bodily injury that's sustained by anyone in the other vehicle. So if there's one person in the other vehicle, it will cover up to $30,000. If there's 10 people in the other vehicle, it'll cover up to $60,000. So sometimes if there's a large number of people in the other vehicle, or if there's a lot of injury in the other vehicle, that 30-60 may not cover it. So if you have the ability to do so, you can purchase larger coverage. So personally, if you're an attorney, you're a doctor, you're someone that has a job where you make more money, if you have the option to get extra coverage, I would highly suggest it. Just because it makes sure that you are covered. So I know I individually, because I'm an attorney, I have additional coverage just in case to protect anyone that might be injured if I was involved in a collision and it was my fault.
If people have like a truck or like a minivan, then they should buy additional coverage, right? Because there are more people in the car, and then you should have additional coverage.
It actually depends. So if you have a commercial vehicle in the state of Texas, you're required to have $1 million policy. However, there aren't other requirements. So if you have like a moving van, you have a smaller truck, like a box truck that you're using, but it's not for commercial purposes, you're only required to have that 30-60. However, because you have a bigger vehicle, it's more likely to cause more damage to another car if you were to be involved in a car accident. So I would highly suggest, if you have something like that, to go ahead and get that additional coverage, because you're probably going to need it if you are in a car accident. Additionally, if you just have the money to go ahead and cover that additional coverage, it protects you. And the reason that it protects you is if the injuries sustained by the other person that's injured by an accident where you are at fault exceed the $30,000 limit as an individual, they can go after you individually. So they can go after your actual assets. So if you have the ability to have additional coverage, go ahead and get that additional coverage so that the insurance can foot the bill on what's happening to the other person, so that you don't have to worry about a suit that would affect you as a person. And so just let your insurance be able to handle it. So basic coverage, like I said, is 30-60. There are other policies that are available with the additional coverage that you can purchase. So you can purchase, usually the companies will have a 50-100 policy. And then once you hit $100,000, the policy limits vary. Sometimes they're 100, sometimes they're 125, sometimes they're 150. However, it's going to cover whatever that amount is, depending on which insurance carrier that you have. So again, if you have the ability to pay for that additional coverage, I would go ahead and pay for that additional coverage just in case. I say this especially because in the current day and age, 30-60 doesn't get you very far. Right. So if someone goes to the hospital after the collision, a lot of times we're seeing the EMS ambulance is going to be, over $1,000, and then the actual hospital, depending on what tests and things are run, it can easily outstrip the $30,000 policy. So just word to the wise, if you can afford that additional coverage, to go ahead and get that as well.
Here is the question. Let's say in Austin, someone got into a car accident and then they call the ambulance. How much is the bill in the emergency room for one day?
So it's going to depend on the severity of the collision. However, the absolute minimum that I usually see for using an ambulance in Austin is a minimum of $988. I've seen that to travel someone 1 mile. The accident was actually very close to hospital. So to travel 1 mile, it was almost $1,000 just because they used the ambulance. And typically in Austin, for most emergency room visits, if you're in Austin proper, it's going to cost a minimum of like $6,000 to $8,000, depending on which hospital you go to. And that's just the cost of doing business in Austin. So, I mean, it is what it is. If you have additional testing, so if they run scans or anything like that, it can become more expensive. So I had a client that was on a motorcycle that was thrown from the motorcycle as a result of the collision. And his hospital bill was $169,000. And he didn't even realize it. He was like, oh, I think it'll just be, 10 or 15. Cause I mean, I was only there for an hour. Well, he was only there for an hour, but they scanned him head to toe because he'd been thrown off of the motorcycle. They needed to make sure that he wasn't injured. So $169,000 is a big bill. So
that's crazy. Like once you set your foot in the hospital, oh my God, you don't know how much they're going to charge you.
Well, and that's part of it. Like, it's not the fault of anybody. It just is the medical system in the United States. So you have no idea what kind of scans or tests are going to be done, and you don't have any idea how much it's going to cost. So just keep yourself safe out there, and go ahead and get that additional coverage if you have the ability to do so.
And especially because of the uncertainty of the medical bill, and it could go like way up and more than that you can imagine.
So typically, to drastically increase your coverage is not going to cost that much more per month. And it can be well worth it. I've had plenty of clients that have had hospital bills in the Austin area that are well in excess of $100,000 for various degrees of injuries. So just make sure that you keep yourself safe so that there's no suit that happens against you, because you have adequate coverage just in case you need it.
Yeah. Well,
and so it's really a win-win for you.